What's up, everyone? Episode 4 of the TSV Sports Show. We welcome back Steven Risotto, back from his hiatus with Jasper Lindsay, Alvin Chang, Marco Milani. I'm your host, Daniel Archuleta. And let's start off first with the NBA Finals. The season is finally over after it seems like a year. The Lakers winning in 6 over Miami. And it is LeBron James' 4th NBA title as well as his 4th NBA Finals MVP. The Lakers with their 17th NBA Finals trophy. I turn it to Alvin Chang. How do you look at this title in the bubble and all the surrounding factors that came with it?
Well, before the series started, I say the final experience would be the most important thing. So, going to the Lakers, beside LeBron and Anthony Davis, I think Roger Rondo and Caldwell Pope is the most important in this series. So, as we know that Roger Rondo, like he's not good at shooting 3-point, but in this series, he can shoot an average 32% from 3-point line. And then he gives 19 points with 4 rebounds and 5.5 assists in this series. Well, meanwhile, talking about Caldwell Pope, so he joined the Lakers since 2017. I think this season is his best performance in the last 3 years. And then in this series, he gives Lakers on offensive play with 12 points and 2.1 rebounds. So although, Danny Green and Kyle Kuzma didn't play well in this series, and Roger Rondo and Caldwell Pope play well for the Lakers. But meanwhile, for Miami Heat, although they didn't win the championship, it's kind of shame. But I think Jimmy Butler gave all he can to the Miami Heat. So as we know, Jimmy Butler played an average over 40 minutes in each game. Well, although Ben Adebayo came back in Game 4, and due to the neck strain injury, I think this definitely affected on defensively. And Adebayo in this postseason, he can grab 10.2 rebound, but after he came back from Game 4 and Game 5, even Game 6, he only can contribute 7.5 rebounds on defensively. So overall, well, I would say congratulations to LA Lakers. LeBron got his 4th title in the NBA, and then he deserved a championship. And I think Miami Heat played such an incredibly playoff in this year, especially you can see the young kids grew up, not only the Ben Adebayo, also the Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero. Like people see this guy, I think this is going to be very important for the Heat in the future. So, well, congratulations to the LA Lakers, and this is a great season.
Yeah, a lot for Miami to, keep their heads held high up about. Plus, they are set up for the long term. Turn it over to Marco. What did you think about just the entire finals and maybe even about the bubble itself?
I think the bubble was actually a great success. We've seen the success in the MLB with the bubble and the NHL with the bubble and how that's been working out. So it's been working out well for that. But with the Lakers championship, I was kind of thinking about this as Alvin was talking, that this is kind of a deja vu to the Toronto Raptors championship. You have these superstars like LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but Contravious Caldwell Pope and Rajon Rondo?
Yes.
Were playing roles, and it was kind of like Toronto with Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam last year. They were kind of playing that same supportive role, and like I said, deja vu, and obviously that worked. So, congratulations to the Los Angeles Lakers. That one's for Kobe, man.
Yeah, no doubt. Any final thoughts from Jasper, Steven?
I mean, obviously it was tough to have the NBA Finals at the same time when football was coming back and the MLB playoffs were starting up. Like, I don't think I watched that much. The ratings are probably going to come out, and you're going to see some of the lowest ratings in years. But I thought it was fun. Like, Game 5, that was an awesome game.
Yeah.
And then Game 6 was just like it was just LeBron and Anthony Davis just imposing their will. Like, there's not much you can do when those guys get going. And Adebayo was playing with one arm. The Heat didn't have Dragic. I think that would have made a huge difference. But yeah, I mean, the Lakers won. They had to get one with LeBron. I mean, I'm glad it happened now when the Warriors had a down season. But yeah, other than that, I mean, it's just Lakers being the Lakers.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I do think the ratings were low, and I think, like Jasper said, we're going to see the report. It won't be pretty, but I do think people knew that it was going on, and I didn't watch as much of it as I probably should have. But I think it's a great story. Obviously, Marco mentioned Kobe, and this one was for Kobe, and that was kind of the narrative around the team in the bubble. And LeBron, there's no question now that he's. I mean, we're hearing second best of all time, so he's definitely etched his name there. It's a great story, and hopefully, LeBron James is gonna. Maybe because there's a lot of people around LeBron that hate on him, and I don't know what I'm saying. I just think that LeBron James, it's a great moment for him during this time to win another championship, and for the Lakers to have one with him.
Yeah, we can all agree though. Next season, whenever it does start, it won't be as easy for them at all, and that's not just because the Warriors are coming back, but there's no telling how just exhausted their players might be. And that could count for all these teams that made it pretty far in the bubble. We'll leave it at that, though. Let's talk some football. The upset of the week, no doubt, came at Arrowhead. The Raiders defeating the Chiefs 40-32. Derek Carr, what else more can you say? 347 through the air, 3 touchdowns. Did have an interception, but it's kind of standard with Derek Carr. Mahomes, he didn't have the greatest game, despite throwing for 340, 2 touchdowns. He did have that big interception though that did lead to a Josh Jacobs, what was it, 70-yard, 2-yard touchdown. I forgot which one it was, but overall, just Jasper, we'll start off with you. What do you take away from this game? Is it more about the Raiders, more Chiefs, or are we left kind of just stunned about it all?
Raiders are rolling. I love this. The AFC West, it's starting to mirror the NFC West. It's getting really competitive. You got a lot of young talent. But I think my biggest takeaway from that game, Henry Ruggs is fast. John Gruden finally has a Tyreek Hill of his own. He finally has a guy who can open up the field and let Carr stretch it with the deep shot. And I think you're starting to see Carr take more deep shots. And, I mean, the Raiders finally played defense. That's the bottom line. Gunther's their defensive coordinator, but he was put on the hot seat last week for their poor play, and he came out and he showed that he can coach a good game. But yeah, I mean, the craziest part though was seeing a Patrick Mahomes interception. Like, there's a few guys in the NFL where you remember when they throw interceptions, and Patrick Mahomes is one of those guys. Like, it was just crazy to see that. Like, you kind of saw like the Chiefs implode in the fourth quarter, and I mean, I think they're going to bounce back next week, but the AFC West is more competitive than people think it is, and that was my biggest takeaway from the game.
Yeah, no doubt. Raiders now go into a bye. The Chiefs, they have that Monday night game, which was originally supposed to be on Thursday night. Now it's next Monday when they play the Bills in Buffalo. Let's talk some 49ers. Not the greatest topic right now. Across the board. Losing to Miami 43-17. It started off bad, went bad, and eventually got worse. Jimmy Garoppolo pulled after the first half. C.J. Beathard took over. Didn't really do a whole lot. Turn it over to Marco now. Where do we go from here with the San Francisco 49ers?
That game was an atrocity of football, and I'm kind of sad that I watched that game. But I don't know where they go from here. I mean, I'm thinking of a lot of things. Like, should they trade for Dwayne Haskins? Should they trade for a wide receiver? Should they trade for a D end? There are a lot of holes in that team, and I don't know where they go from here. I mean, I was seeing a couple things where maybe you walk away from Jimmy G's contract at the end of the year and maybe try to get a quarterback in the 2021 draft. Obviously, they're stacked with them, but there's just a lot of things that Shanahan and Saleh and Lynch got to figure out before going into the next game against the Rams.
Yeah, and they need to figure this out fast because they're entering the toughest stretch of their season. What I just found off to be very just disappointing is this secondary depth. Like, I don't know who the hell Brian Allen is. I looked him up. I mean, apparently he had some experience playing with the Steelers, and then he didn't play at all in 2 seasons. We saw why. That was just like the touchdown he gave up down the sideline, down the far sideline. I forgot who it was to, but just no hand checking like at the line of scrimmage. Just it was just very bad coverage and far around. And at that point, it does come down to coaching. Like, what were they seeing in this guy? And like how much is a Keller Witherspoon just in the doghouse, knowing that they're just staying away from him? Props to Jason Verrett though. Like, he's like, we're not talking about him because he's doing a good job. Steven, did you see anything from this game that makes you want to believe a little bit in the 49ers?
I saw a lot, and we talked about the Rams next week. The Rams have one of the better passing offenses in the game.
Oh,
and,
that's gonna be a bloodbath.
And I mean, no knock at all on Brian Allen, who not a lot of people know, and as you mentioned, I had to look him up too. No knock on Brian Allen. That's all they had. I get it. I don't think Witherspoon was completely healthy. But I mean, something has to happen at cornerback. I mean, Richard Sherman's has a setback now. Mosley, Johnson, they're not there. So you have to go with this Brian Allen guy, and to come up with like a comparison on the pass that you were talking about. It looked like the one kid that was picked last in the football game trying to cover like the other team's best receiver. It was bad. And also, Jimmy, I don't think Garoppolo's healthy at all. And even if he was healthy, I think, Marco, your point is valid with taking a second look at his contract. I don't think they know who he is. I don't think they know who he is. We saw last year in the Super Bowl, he didn't even need to be there and they could have won. So I don't think anybody really knows who Jimmy Garoppolo is. There's flashes, yes, but just the overall picture of his player profile, it's not what his image, like, you look at him, he looks like a quarterback. He looks like he's in control of the moment, but we just don't know who he is.
Yeah, that's right. All right, so I talked about their tough stretch coming up. Let's run it down. Let's see how many wins we could possibly have here. Home against the Rams, at New England, at Seattle.
Loss.
Home against Green Bay. That's a Thursday night game.
Oh my
and
God.
then they have they have that long layoff in between the Thursday night game. Then they go to New Orleans for.
No, they can win that one.
Yeah, that. No knock on the Saints, but their defense right now is not looking all that great. But like I said, they need to figure this out fast. Injuries are what they are, but if they cannot figure this out, it's going to be a long winter for that organization. What's up, Marco?
Do they trade for Dwayne Haskins or Sam Darnold?
I don't think trading right now is in their best option.
Okay, I just gotta say though, what kind of message are you sending when you bench a guy you're paying $20 million and a captain? Like, you can't that's something where you can't put Jimmy back in now. You've made a statement on your quarterback. The Niners are putting themselves in a bad situation. And I think that's the worst part about it, is they're putting themselves in situations where they can't succeed. Now, if they were coached if they were coached better, they'd take these losses and they'd say, what can we do? Not, let's just blow it all up. What is that?
Yeah.
I think it's Jimmy G's fault completely. He's doing this to himself. He's babying his injury. And throughout training camp, Grant Cohn was talking about this, that he's babying his injury. He's not confident on that foot. He's not confident on that ankle. He, like Steven said, he's not healthy yet. Obviously, you're paying him $20 million to baby an injury. So I think that's the statement he's making, and he's forcing himself into that hand.
Yeah,
that's right. It's just a very bad situation. And we're only 5 weeks into the season. Stay tuned on what could possibly happen, but they're early underdogs right now against the Rams, and who knows what could happen from there. All right, let's shift now to the college game. I just turned over to Jasper now. What did you see from this past weekend in college football? I do have a little bit of knowledge, but because as everyone knows, I was in Vegas over the past weekend, bet a couple games. But if I have anything to chime in, I'll go in there. So turn it over to Jasper now.
Well, the first game I'm going to talk about, Ole Miss, Alabama, I really hope you took the over. This game was insane. Lane Kiffin's offense was on full display for everyone to see, and his defense was dismal. This was a battle of who could just give up more yards. I think Lane Kiffin's now given up 600-plus yards back-to-back weeks. It's crazy how good his offense is and then how bad his defense is. The other thing I saw in the Ole Miss Alabama game, Najee Harris is a monster. We knew this. Alabama running backs are just built different, and, I mean, it showed. He had 5 touchdowns.
No, shout out Najee.
What's going on, man?
From Antioch. Very, very proud. Just putting us on the map.
Yeah. But that was definitely the craziest game in the SEC of the weekend. But now I'm going to move over to the Red River Showdown, which was at its heart a display of how far the Big 12 has fallen as a conference. Oh, my God. They aren't even going to have a playoff team this year. I think that I'm going to say it, they're worse than the Pac-12. It is all offense, no defense. It's all gas, no breaks. Sam Ehlinger was amazing despite a few mistakes, but his team is just playing mediocre. And in this league, you can't be about mediocrity. So that's all I got to say about the Red River Showdown. It was obviously a shootout. It was fun to watch. But even Gus Johnson, who was announcing it, got tired by the end of it.
Yeah, you never get tired of Gus. He's probably the best that there is in college sports. No offense to Brad Nessler or Chris Fowler.
It's hard to get Gus Johnson tired.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It does. Yeah, you were talking about the over in Bama Ole Miss. I did have that.
Boy.
Yeah, had a little bit of wagering on that. Also, shout out Georgia. Never letting Tennessee get any offensive momentum in the second half. So I thank you guys a lot. And just to say, Notre Dame, you got to score on that last possession, man. That was brutal to watch. I'm just in my room, just punching the air. Just man, they got to score there. Florida State is just, they're not trying to win. They're just, that was bad. Anyway, we'll talk now. We'll talk some MLB postseason.
Wait, I think Marco wanted to talk Georgia.
Oh, my apologies, Marco. Yeah, go ahead for Georgia.
What a great game. Stetson Bennett is actually surprising me. Honestly. Okay. But honestly, going into this college football season, I was expecting a battle between Jamie Newman and JT Daniels for the starting spot. Then they put in the Stetson Bennett. I'm just like, who the heck is this guy? But UGA in Tennessee, he passed for 238 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a rush touchdown. Zamir White had 22 carries, 50 yards, and a touchdown. Kendall Milton, however, led in rushing yards with 56. That defense, though, I was watching the highlights of that game. They were showing up. The leader, Monty Rice, 2 fumble recoveries, a sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 8 total tackles. It's not to say Tennessee wasn't good. Jarrett Guarantano, I think I may have butchered that name, but he had passed for 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. Both touchdowns went to Josh Palmer, and they look good, but Georgia's 3-0, and I think they may be the sleeper in the SEC.
Yeah, once again, good teams win, great teams cover. Leave it at that. All right, I just mentioned MLB postseason. Let's get into it. The Dodgers-Braves, crazy game 1 last night. The Braves winning ultimately in the 9th inning, 4 runs there. They win 5-1. Big talking point right now at the time of this recording, Clayton Kershaw for game 2. He's scratched with back tightness. His status for the rest of the series is kind of unknown at this point. Any chance, I turn over to Alvin, any chance that the Dodgers can possibly come back and make a series of this?
Well, personally, I think Braves going to win, especially their bullpen. I think their bullpen has a good ERA. Turning to the starting roster, I think Dodgers in this season, well, Kershaw can pitch in game 2, and right now, the Dodgers down by 1-0. But before this series, I would expect the World Series as Braves against the Rays. This is my personal opinion.
Now, hold on. That does sound very familiar. You see Steven smiling. Apparently, back in March, you said that you had the Braves and the Rays going into the World Series. Now, that's crazy. Back in March, this is way before, the pandemic started. So, are you on to something?
Yeah. Obviously, a lot has happened since then, but you look in the American League and, you see the Yankees. And I think at the time when I said it, there was a lot of injuries around New York. And, Aaron Judge is a top 5 player in baseball when he's on the field. But problem is he's not on the field very often. Stanton wasn't on the field very often at the time. There's a lot of holes in New York's team. And I like what the Rays were doing. The Rays have, a lot of players on their team who are just straight up ball players. Up and down the list, I mean, Randy Rosarina, who is this? He's all of a sudden become one of their MVPs. So he's been great. I think the Rays have a really good pitching. They've always developed well. In terms of Houston, in the ALCS, they shouldn't be there, frankly enough, and they just shouldn't be there. I believe they were under 500, if not a little bit above, but they're not a playoff team. They took advantage of the postseason format being expanded. So honestly, it's the Rays series to lose. As for the National League Championship Series, I'm not worried about Kershaw. I think that if Dave Roberts says that he's going to be back later in the series, I wouldn't doubt it. I will say that the one, because before game 1, the Fox analysts, they all picked the Dodgers, every single one of them. And honestly, it's not that much of a disadvantage for the Braves. It's really not. They match up well offensively, but I think the big difference is starting pitching. I think, the Braves are really thin, losing Soroka, losing Cole Hamels. So I don't know. It's going to be up to Ian Anderson and Kyle Wright. As for LA, I mean, it's always going to be with their bullpen. It's always going to be their bullpen. It's been like that. That's probably one of the reasons why they've never won a championship in this last 10-year stretch, is because that's been a weakness of theirs. But I don't know if winning game 1 puts the Braves at a big advantage. It's an advantage, obviously, but, you cannot count the Dodgers out. You just can't.
Definitely. You just wait. You're really just waiting. Like one run scored in game 1, you're just waiting for the avalanche to come. And that can come from anyone. It can come from the top of the lineup. It can come from the bottom. And don't forget the power hitters right in the middle. So we'll leave it. We'll finish off today's episode with the French Open. Rafael Nadal, the king of clay, just seems to always win the French Open. But it was a very good, at least it seemed like a good final until I saw that he won the first set 6-0, or was it the second one? But turn it over to Alvin now. What did you take away from the French Open?
Well, first of all, I would talk about the women's finals first. So going to the women's finals, Iga Swiatek, a 19 years old girl who ranked 54 in the world singles from Poland. So she never lost any sets in this year in the Roland Garros. It's actually in the fourth round. She defeats the world number 2 Simona Halep 6-1, 6-2 in 1 hour and 8 minutes. Well, as a young girl to be the world number 2, this is not easy. And also going to the finals, facing Sophia Kenin. I was expecting Sophia to win the championship because, well, she won the Australia Open last year, but going to the finals due to the leg injury in the second set, Sophia almost can't move in the second set. So, well, congratulations to the young girls. And Iga Swiatek is the second player since 2007 who never lost any sets in a Grand Slam championship. Well, turn to the men's finals. As Daniel, you say, Rafael Nadal, definitely he's a king in a clay court. And, he defeated Djokovic with 6-0, 6-2, and 7-5. This is Nadal's 20th Grand Slam championship. He tied Roger Federer in the history. And this is his 30th Roland Garros trophy. And I think he made a history. Well, I was really surprised this game because I was expecting to see 5 sets. But, Nadal definitely controlled the game. He know the texture. He know where the ball go in. And although, Djokovic used a lot of drop shot, let Nadal to run to the front court and also use lob shot. And this actually didn't threaten Nadal too much. So overall, I would say, in a clay court, nobody can beat Rafael Nadal. And he's definitely the king in the tennis history.
Yeah, it just seems like who now can whenever Nadal does retire, hopefully that doesn't happen anytime soon, but just who can keep up with that kind of dominance on one style of a court. I know Federer was really good when it comes to grass, but
well, as your question, I think Dominic Thiem from Austria, who's ranking number 3 in the singles, in a world ranking singles. I think because he just won the U.S. Open on August, I think he also played really good in a clay court. So when Nadal retire one day, I think the next generation will be, between Dominic Thiem and Alexander Zverev.
All right, it's good to know. Keep that in mind. And like you said, 19-year-old winning a Grand Slam trophy. Wow, that's making me feel old. All right, we'll leave it at that, though. Thanks for watching to the TSV Sports Show. Just a friendly reminder, the California registration deadline to vote is on the 19th. So everyone just go out there, register to vote, and once you do, make sure to vote, whether that's early or on Election Day, which is November 3rd. Just do it, please. Just vote. Why not? Make sure to follow the Skyline View on Twitter and Instagram at the Skyline View. And we'll see you next week. As you see there one more time, please register to vote, whether that's local, national, all that good stuff. Just do it. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week on the TSV Sports Show.